All right, welcome everyone. It sounds like folks might still be joining, which is great. We're going to get started. My name is Katie Wilson. I'm the head of e-commerce Southwest for Google, and I work primarily in Southern California region. I'm based here in Los Angeles, usually in our offices that are in Playa Vista, and I work with clients throughout the Southwest region into Texas. And before that at Google, I've always been involved in some form of retail. I worked with some of our largest prepay and pure play Google advertisers in the past. And then I also worked on Google Checkout before it was Google Pay. So I have familiarity with Google Checkout integration systems as well. That was my first job at Google, but primarily working in sales, primarily partnering with our advertisers as well. Great. Okay, I'm just reading in the chat. If you want to maximize the screen, you can double click on that to see the full presentation if you like. Otherwise, you get the side-by-side of me. Great. So today I'm going to focus on holiday. I know it's top of mind for everyone, holiday 2020. It feels very uncertain to most folks. And at Google, we can't predict exactly what the holiday demand is going to or what user behavior is going to look like, but we do have some hypotheses and we do have a lot of tools that can support you either way, depending on what the holiday 2020 brings us. Great. So many of you might have seen this graph before, but e-commerce has actually grown more in the last 2 months than it has over the past 10 years. So this was wildly quoted in Forbes and other publications, and this is just by e-commerce penetration of sales. So the amount of people shopping right now online. So very interesting data to think about how we might have jumped into the future in terms of adoption. And you see this as well in terms of traditional retailers right now exercising e-commerce options. You see this in terms of traditional e-commerce advertisers like yourself. People might be native to e-commerce, seeing an influx in sales. I have clients running out of inventory early in the pandemic because they weren't able to capitalize or know that this demand was going to hit. So very interesting to see how this will continue into 2021, as well as how it will affect our holiday spend and consumer behavior. So we have done some research at Google in terms of surveying consumers, working with third parties to understand and try to predict what will consumer behavior be like? What are people interested in? And how will their shopping behaviors really change over the last year? So a couple things that we see changing in the pandemic. Last year, and frankly, for years past, when you think of holiday shopping, you think primarily in store, right? You see those big adverts for the big box retailers. You see people flooding the lines for Black Friday, right? That is going to be very different this year. So of the holiday shoppers we surveyed, 72% of them said they'll shop more online this season, which probably doesn't come as a surprise. But it actually, is going to be a trend we're going to want to stay on top of, and you're going to want to make sure to capitalize on that demand that's there and that shift of behavior. Also, retailer loyalty, very important in terms of holiday. Traditionally, people have their go-to merchants that they go to, and think of your own behavior, where you might go and try to get all your shopping done at one place. Maybe it's a Target or a big box store. I do that same thing. We're going to see less of that, actually. 54% of consumers reported that they've made purchases from brands that were brand new to them. Think of your own behavior over the last 6 months. What brands have you shopped for, right? How did you find those brands? Did you see them on social media? Did you see them online? Is it a brand you were familiar with that you purchased with? And of those new brands you discovered, will you be shopping with them in the holiday season? This is the trend that we're going to see, exemplify, and really it forces folks to think about their customer journey, think about how you're acquiring new customers and how you're speaking to them. I really loved in the Rebecca Minkoff presentation how she talked about her consumers and having a direct relationship with them during the pandemic and how successful she was in that regard. So it's very, very important to keep in mind. In the past, we've seen a lot of the sales, and many people know this, if you've been through a Q4 before, very heavily concentrated in that Cyber Week, which is the week after Thanksgiving, and folks go back to work, right? They're online, they're poised to make those online shopping behaviors happen. Changing. right? So people are looking for deals earlier and earlier. We've even seen data to show that people are going to start shopping for holiday as early as October. Perhaps with Halloween not being as big, I know in my region, they're encouraging folks not to go door to door. So then what's the next big holiday? Well, it's Thanksgiving. When I think of Thanksgiving, I think of Black Friday, I think of sales, right? So are people really just primed and starting to shop earlier? That is something that's going to be really proved out in October. So if you're a merchant, I would definitely say be ready for October, be ready to understand, what traffic is going to be there and how that might mimic what's going to happen for the rest of the quarter. And are you ready for that traffic in October? Do you want to have promotional language in October? It seems very, very early, but we're starting to see folks trend in that way just to see, test out the waters, see if people are in the holiday shopping mindset. And obviously, as I said before, we can't predict the future at Google, but we do have data and technology that really can help you adapt with the change in consumer demand, or perhaps the influx of demand, as well as with automation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how our tools will line up with holiday, but feel free to throw out questions in the chat box as well. I'm monitoring that. If you all are current users of Google, if you aren't using Google products and have questions, I'm happy to answer that as well as I go on. So I'm happy to stop and answer questions throughout, make this more conversational. So one of the trends I outlined before is this idea of capturing maximum demand, right? We know that people are going to be online sooner, perhaps, and more online than in store. How can you make sure you're getting in front of folks, both on Google search, the shopping platform? And again, I know a lot of folks on here are Shopify merchants, very easy integration with Google Shopping and more of our comparison shopping product assortment view. Google Maps, if you have a physical store, and YouTube. I'll talk about YouTube a little later, but that is one of the largest platforms we're seeing in terms of, growth during the pandemic and people's time. So very important to be there as well. So please think about, when you think about Google, think about all our has come a really long way and is very, very attuned at flexing to demand and pulling back when there's not demand, right? So if you're using things like smart bidding, I absolutely recommend smart shopping. If you're on our shopping platform, that's the best way to be using our shopping solutions. It's highly integrated on the bidding and the creative side. If you're giving us the feed and giving us the information of the products you have, we can dynamically optimize that. So very important product to be aware of. And thirdly, monitoring consumer demand in real time. We have tools that are free to use. If you guys aren't familiar with Google Trends and Shopping Insights, they're excellent tools you can use. They're free to everyone. You can even drill it down for your category. Say you're in apparel and you sell women's handbags, or you're in sporting goods, right? You can look specifically by category and see what are the rising search terms. What are people shopping for? What are terms that you might have not have known that people are associating with that category, for instance? And Shopping Insights is a level deeper. So I would really explore that in terms of if you have a shopping feed and you're very well integrated with a large number of SKUs, Shopping Insights will give you a lot more data around the specific trends. Think of Google Trends as more keyword level data, and Shopping Insights is a tool built specifically for retailers. So definitely wanted to talk about that today. Great. Wanted to show a little bit of a map, I would say, which we share with our clients about the coming months and how to get ready. It's going to be different than years before, like I said, and we're not going to be able to predict that, but what we can do is plan effectively for holiday. So we've already passed July and August. I know it seems like it was just right around the corner, but we have. That time was really about, I was talking to a lot of our clients about understanding the fundamentals in their account. Do they have the building blocks set up for Google to maximize their reach? So do they have a shopping feed set up? Did they have their fundamentals set up with targeting, with keywords, with the audiences they're targeting? That's all the things I would recommend folks have done and set up in the summer. It's not too late if you haven't set that up yet. Reach out to your Google team, call 8662 Google at any time. we can help you troubleshoot and make sure you're set up for success, especially if you're a retailer at this time. One thing I wanted to show is the demand. That's what those blue and red bars are showing. We're already experiencing a 25% uplift in e-commerce demand on Google. What is that going to look like in the months to come? We are not sure, but we want to make sure that we're ready to take on any traffic. So I really think during this time of September and particularly October, which we're in now, and I know it sounds crazy, but we're there in Q4, we want to be ready for that demand. We want to understand if we're going to be able to fulfill on the promises. I really would urge clients to make sure their shipping timeframes are clear, right? There's been a lot of concerns around, will we be able to ship things to clients in time? Put that in your ad text, put that on your site if you have guaranteed shipping. And then when we look at November and December, these are the more traditional times we're familiar with. Cyber Week, free shipping day, usually the cutoff of free shipping. That might change and move earlier, depending on what shipping provider you're using and what they've been telling you. Another thing I really want to recommend is think about after the holiday, after Christmas, because a lot of people might turn off ads or pull back because they think post-Christmas, there's not a lot of traffic. But if you look here from 2019, and this is always the trend, you really need to leave the lights on because there's traffic to be had at that time. Normal traffic volumes, people get gift cards, right? People have now money maybe that they want to spend on themselves. They want to make returns. They want to buy something new. Please be on post-holiday and as we go into the new year as well. That's something I always recommend for folks in holiday. Great. Again, please chat in if you have any questions about the Google products, about what we're recommending for holiday. If you have concerns about your own business for holiday, any questions there in the chat box, happy to answer it. All right, I'm going to go into a couple fundamentals or more tactical aspects of how you can optimize your account and go in a little bit based on those recommendations we saw before, get a little deeper. So a couple things, and these line up to the trends I had presented earlier, but we're seeing a digital first shift. I think that's very clear for anyone who's experienced shopping during the pandemic right now. And if you have a traditional store, what this means is maybe you're shifting and accelerating your e-commerce efforts. Maybe you're doing buy online, pick up in store, right? Very popular right now. Make sure you have that integration. We have great tools for physical stores within Google as well. So make sure you're utilizing those. Demand driven, I spoke about this a lot, right? We want to invest wisely across the season. We want to win at every moment and every peak of demand we can see, even if it's different than the years before. And using automation will really help that. New to file customers, right? We want to drive repeat purchases. We want to focus on those newly acquired customers we might have gained over the last 6 months and upsell them to holiday. So think about that as you're thinking of your messaging. And we want to rethink reach. I'll talk about this in a little more depth, but where traditionally you might have done traditional media or billboards or thinking about getting in front of as many eyes as possible, we can do that digitally in a different way. And there's a lot of platforms that Google that allow for that. Great. So when we talk about demand, I spoke about this earlier, that most people are going to do their online shopping. They want to avoid crowds. They want to confirm if they are purchasing something in a store, perhaps they want to confirm that it's online before they go there and waste their time and put on a mask and make the plan to go there in person, right? So think about that if you have a physical store, how you can do some integration there. With Google Shopping, we do have an integration where we can see your local inventory. So you can upload that to Shopping and we can see when something's physically in store and for what location. It's a great feature. I've used it myself to know whether or not I should drive to that store and maybe buy online and pick up in store. It's a great experience. Thinking about that across channels, I talked a little bit about curbside pickup, definitely a trend that's not going away anytime soon. If you do have a physical store, there's a way to track store visits as a conversion within Google. So do look into that as well. I think that's a great form of a conversion that we didn't have before. And we used data via mobile phones and elsewhere to get very accurate information around signed in users. So those that have stores find this data extremely powerful. Great. I'm talking a little bit about new to file. Where are all those new customers coming from, right? We've had a high peak in e-commerce right now. We've had a lot of new customers that might be new to your email file, new to your customer register. What are you going to do with them, right? How are we going to think about them and when it comes to holiday? So 30% of consumers shop with new retailers. We talked about that before, but they list price as the most important factor for holiday shopping. So perhaps we give those new customers a promotion. Perhaps we think about, promotional ad text for those customers, whether it's on the Google properties and through your advertising or through your powerful email list. So really thinking about the message you're sending them. We want to make sure you're uploading those lists to Google. If you haven't done that yet, we do have a way you can upload either new site visitors, repeat purchasers, and segment those out. So making sure you have an audience strategy that's aligned with whatever you're doing in-house, you can put it into the Google platform as well, and it can be powerful. Merchant promotions. I see there's a question there about free product listing ads. Yes, and I'll speak to that as well. Merchant promotions is something that you can put on your ad text, but you could also put in your product listing ads. So very important if you have a promotion, buy one, get one free. Do you have 50% off? Do you have free shipping? Make that a promotion that you tag within Google so that it can run across our platforms. And you can ask your Google team about that. Take advantage of audiences and customize your messaging, right? If it's someone that's new to file and you want them to come back for holiday, say, hey, we'd love to see you again. Here's a promotion for free shipping. Could be simple as just, giving them something like that and acknowledging that they've purchased from you before and that you're giving them a deal for that. And then as we get further advanced with Google, if you're very advanced and you're uploading your customer data with us, either a data import, BigQuery, or GA360, you can now segment that and optimize to customer lifetime value. But I would say that's on the more advanced side of customer lifecycle, but it's something you can do with our products. Colin has a question here about why we're shifting free product listings and what's in it for Google. Great question. We announced this over the summer where folks can upload their feed for free to have free listings on Google as well as paid listings. So I would think about it the same way you think about search, right? We have free listings per se on search that are just, we want to show you all the information that's out there. And then we want to allow for advertisers that match that criteria and have content that matches that query to advertise. The same is true of products, right? We want to create a really robust product infrastructure that has all the products out there so that Google Shopping is a go-to platform for you to search for anything you're looking for and compare price, compare location, compare color, and what's available by each merchant. So in order to do that, we do want every merchant to submit there. And then we want to have a system that's paid. So we will have promoted listings like you see now, and we will have free listings. So I think of it as similar to what we're doing in search and how the product ecosystem has really evolved and allow us to get as much data as we can to consumers that's there. So, great idea. If you haven't even dipped your toe in product listings, it's free. If you have Shopify, it's a very, very easy integration. I know a lot of people on this call do. So please talk to your Shopify rep about that. Good question. All right, lastly, top of mind for a lot of folks when we think about during the pandemic and just where users' eyes are, what they're watching. 60% of people, because they've been staying home, it's led them to watch more content online, probably no surprise. And sorry, my dog is barking in the background, the joys of being at home. And so people are roughly watching 12 hours a day of content or more. That's crazy. And 52% report that they're streaming more on YouTube. And maybe think of your own behavior and what you've explored on various streaming channels. 70% of viewers said they bought a brand as a result of seeing it on YouTube. So again, if you don't think that YouTube is an important place to be, think again. People are spending their time there. You want to be there and be able to get in front of them with your message and with your product. So a way we can do that, think about how you might interact during holiday, right? Building that pipeline, right? How can you reach these viewers on YouTube? You can get very customized on YouTube, whether it be on keywords people are searching for on YouTube or on very specific niche audiences. So talking to your Google team about the ways that you could advertise there and set up for success is extremely important. Do you have that's running on streaming services? Do you have video assets that you're running on your own site, on social channels? That for YouTube and run effectively. But please talk to your team about how we can help, because we can give you advice on the best strategy for running creative on YouTube, because it's a little different than some of the other platforms. You want to customize your message. We have Google Creative Services. We can help you with that, and our teams can help you with that. Again, that's more of that optimization for YouTube piece. And also, we can influence consideration, and we actually see the full picture of a user's data. So we can see when they travel from search to YouTube. We can advertise for folks that might have, searched for your product on search, and now you want to re-engage them on YouTube. Perhaps you want to remarket to folks on YouTube that have been to your site before. So we can get very specific in how we segment out video. So please talk to us about that. I think holiday is the perfect time to get in front of people. And a lot of people's products, you want to show it, right? You want to see sight, sound, and motion versus a static text ad, or even a we can measure in real time. That's a great aspect of YouTube for action. And I will say, it's not on this slide, but a new product that we've had that many people have found a lot of success with is our discovery platform. So think about that as more native advertising that you might see in the feed. If you have an Android device, you have a feed by where you might see images there. So feed-based advertising, but it goes cross-platform. Display, our unique Google properties, our feed, Gmail, YouTube. That's really what our discovery targeting is. So please talk to your Google team if you haven't explored that, because that's a great, I would say mid-funnel, right? YouTube might be higher funnel. Discovery is a way to get your brand in front of folks in an audience-based way, in a very native way, in a look and feel that you can control. And we've seen a lot of success and reach there. Great. Love some starting, Jamie asked a question. I'd love some starting points and tips for a new business. Yes, if you're a new business getting started and you haven't set up anything with Google, please go to google.com/ads. That's how you can get started if you're a new business. You can go through the flow and set up, very basic search ads. There's even some automation there where you won't need to select too much. You can give us your CPA if you have it. You can give us, your goals for your business, and we'll recommend a mix of ads for you that can be very beginner. I would also say 8662 Google, if you're just getting started, that's our open customer service line. We're open to talk to you about your ads and setup. We can walk you through the process. There's great folks ready to talk on the line and get you integrated. And then I would say for Jamie, depending on what platform you're using, if you are using Shopify, like a lot of our merchants, please come back at 11:30 on this very session. My colleague Sarah will be speaking to how to best integrate Shopify with Google. So she's the head of our partnerships with Shopify, and she'll be talking about best practices on using Google products in Shopify. Yes, okay, great. So please come back at 11:30 for Sarah's session, but also Shopify integration with Google is very, very easy. So when you're in the Shopify platform, for instance, you can integrate your feed with us very, very easily and just submit that to Google and start running ads. So it's great that you're on Shopify, because I think that's one of the easiest places to get started. So you can either talk to your Shopify rep or call a Google rep and start to get started with the process. Excellent. Any other questions, or folks have concerns about holiday, questions about what they're expecting in terms of holiday business? Oh, the phone number again is 8662 Google. I'll put it in here too so people see it. There you go. And I'll also put in here google.com/ads. And another great platform, if you want, just to follow the trends that are happening in retail, that as Google sees them and how it integrates with our products, Think Retail. If you just look Google Think Retail, and it's actually in my bio. If you look at my bio in my presenter link at the top right-hand corner, that is where our marketing team will put a lot of the data that they're finding around trends in the holiday season. So we're going to be updating that throughout Q4 with data we're seeing in real time from Google Trends, from our top retailers. We're going to having blog posts. We have data analysis there. It's a great resource. I subscribe to it myself and always love when it comes into my inbox. They're short, they're concise, and it's great data around e-commerce and Google. So think retail, Google's blog basically about retail. That's a great resource for you. And you can see some of our information. We just recently hosted an event and a webinar all about retail, and that will be recorded and housed there and under that umbrella. So you'll be able to look through some of the sessions that we hosted as well if you want to get a little more into the weeds of how to set up things for retail. Jennifer has a question here. In an oversaturated market, what are the 1 or 2 tips for a new business who's rolling out a special holiday gift product? Great question. So I imagine your product is maybe like a bundle or something special that you're doing for holiday. I would definitely recommend promoting that. Think about how the experience is on your website. Are you putting that front and center? Do you have a holiday or giftable page on your website that you're pointing folks to? When you're putting out advertising, whether it be Google, Facebook, any channel, are you talking about that promotion in ad text? So once we get into the holiday season, maybe even as earlier, Jennifer, if you weren't here earlier, I was saying even as early as October, mid-October, people are going to start with that holiday messaging. So making that messaging clear in your ads that you have a holiday offering, that it's highly giftable. People do run on keywords around best, whoever your target audience is, say you have a gift for moms, best gift for moms, right? Best gift for dads. I've searched that for myself to find something for my dad. So think about those keywords and things a little out of the box that people might be searching on come holiday. And if your product would match, consider running on that, right? Consider promoting it to your existing email base and your existing customer base, whether that be through social channels, through email, et cetera, through remarketing, but really making it known that you have this product to the folks that are looking on it and connecting with them. I'm thinking about your target market there. So again, you can audience target with Google, you could keyword target with Google. So depending on what your objective is and who it is you're trying to reach with that product, we can help you get a pretty solid strategy there. Great. Any other questions? Again, I'll put another plug if folks are just joining. On the same breakout session, session 3, Sarah Sherfield will be from Google, but she heads up our partnerships with Shopify. So if you're a Shopify merchant and you're interested in what you can do with Google through the Shopify platform, she'll have a lot more specifics on that. So please join at 11:30 for Sarah as well. And if folks are just getting started, you can see my links there, google.com/ads, as well as 8662-Google, which is our customer service line. We can help you get started. It's not too late to set up an account for holiday. As someone mentioned previously, we have free listings now with product ads. So, if you're just dipping your toe in, trying to integrate product and not quite sure, what your how to get started. Maybe you want to start with free listings and then have a couple key products on paid listings. That's something you could integrate as well, either on your own by submitting your feed to us or with Shopify. Oh, there's a question here. Are transactions conducted on Google Checkout or do they go back to the Shopify site? I believe that's a great question for Sarah, but I believe they should live on the Shopify site. I've been through a lot of merchants. It can be an option on Shopify. Think of it as like a payment option, but not necessarily that the payment would live there through the checkout flow. Someone else said it should be fixed now. I found an error coming from the API product model. Okay. Oh, that's okay, Donna. I was confused. I was like, wow, that's a very technical question. Which app is the most reliable for Shopify plus Google integration? I see a lot of them when I search. So I would say, I don't know if you need a specific app. You can just set up a Google Ads account with Google, or you can do that through Shopify, the Shopify apps. Again, Sarah can get more into the details of the Shopify apps and how they pull down with Google. I would say the top products that are probably apps with Shopify are thinking about submitting the shopping feed to get on Google Shopping and Google Search Ads. Those are probably where I'd start. That's bottom of the funnel. That's going to be very performance-based. And then as we get up the funnel, there's things like I mentioned, discovery and display and YouTube. But if you're just getting started, start with ads on search and start with shopping. That's really that comparison shopping, doing your feed, especially for Q4. That's going to be the most important. We have a lot of great innovation also coming out with shopping in terms of how we showcase promotions. So definitely I would start there if you have Shopify. Great. And then Dawa, if you come back at 11:30, Sarah is going to be talking specifically about Shopify integration on Google. So she might be able to get more into this specific app you should use. All right. I see Phil just joined. Hi, Phil. We're just wrapping up and answering questions. I can probably have time for a few more. I think another speaker is going to start at 10 o'clock. All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions, again, you could always reach me. My LinkedIn is actually in my speaker profile. So if you look and you find my speaker profile there, it's just Katie Wilson at Google. I work on e-commerce. If you're a merchant just getting started, I can point you in the right direction of folks to talk to at Google. But like I mentioned, it's not too late to get started for holiday. It's a very important time to be fully integrated and kind of have those foundational aspects on. If you're more advanced, think through and reach out to your Google team if there's some more advanced options. Maybe they're discovery, maybe they're YouTube, maybe it's some further integration with automation. But we're here to help and wishing everyone having a successful holiday season. And we know it's unprecedented, but hopefully we have tools to help you capture all that demand that's going to be there. Oh, one more question from Jennifer. What's the best place to find tips on YouTube as a new business? Great question. So we do have a YouTube guide that is like YouTube best at Google. So if you're on the Google Ads Help Center, you can search YouTube best practices in the Google Ads Help Center. That should give you a list of creative best practices with YouTube in terms of how long to make your ad, how to target. You want it that watermark or your brand mark at the beginning and the end of the ad. So if you look on our Google Ads Help Center, that has a lot of resources in terms of best practices. And if you search for a specific product like YouTube best practices, you should get a really clean list. You can also call 8662-GOOGLE and someone can take a look at your account or your ad and offer you some recommendations. Excellent. Well, I'm going to wrap up here as we have a new speaker coming up, but so great to talk with everyone about holiday and great to join e-commerce day. This is a great interface and I've really enjoyed listening to the main stage talks and the sessions. So talk to you all soon. Bye.